Hey everyone, welcome back. Today's explainer dives into a really chilling true crime story that perfectly demonstrates how our modern world tracks our every single move, even when we think absolutely nobody is watching. We're looking at the tragic case of Sarah Mitchell. She was a 27-year-old nurse whose final Uber ride in Phoenix, Arizona turned into this incredibly complex digital mystery. You're going to want to pay close attention to how physical reality and digital data intersect here because it's absolutely fascinating and honestly a little terrifying.
I mean, seriously, how does someone just vanish into thin air from the backseat of a moving car? It's a premise that completely defies logic, right? In a confined space, moving from point A to point B, a person simply doesn't just disappear. Yet, that is exactly what initially seemed to happen here, setting up a suspenseful disappearance that baffled literally everyone involved.
All right, let's dive right into this. Picture this. It's Phoenix, Arizona, Friday night, precisely 11:47 p.m. Sarah Mitchell has just finished a totally grueling shift at the local hospital. She's exhausted, way too tired to drive herself, so she makes a completely routine decision. She books an Uber to go home. The hospital security cameras actually catch her smiling, checking her phone, and getting into a black SUV before it drives away. Tragically, that grainy footage became the very last time anyone ever saw her.
So, that brings us to Section 1, the midnight disappearance.
Which leads directly into Section 2, a perfect digital alibi.
The very next morning, when Sarah doesn't show up for her next nursing shift, her family immediately reports her missing, and Detective James Walker gets assigned to the case. Now, at first glance, this investigation seems super straightforward, but there is a jarring contrast going on here. According to the app's flawless digital data, the ride was successfully completed at 12:18 a.m., right near Sarah's apartment. But the physical reality? Security cameras covering her apartment complex show she never actually got out of the vehicle. The app literally said she arrived, but the cameras proved she didn't.
So detectives naturally bring in the Uber driver, a guy named Kevin Ross, and he is confident. He insisted up and down that he dropped Sarah off safely. And the crazy part? His statement perfectly matched the official GPS data from the app. Because his story aligns so cleanly with that digital record, investigators hit a massive, frustrating dead end. For days, they could find absolutely no evidence of foul play. The data was telling them one story, while the fact that Sarah was missing told another. But then, we hit Section 3, the 12-minute gap. Now, what's really interesting here is the breakthrough that came from a digital forensic analyst. They started looking past that official drop-off confirmation and found a single glaring number, 12. There were exactly 12 missing minutes in the GPS route location data. For 12 whole minutes, the vehicle just ceased to exist on the digital map. When investigators brought this up to Kevin, he hastily claimed it was just some technical glitch with his phone. But Detective Walker, yeah, he wasn't buying the whole glitch excuse.
Let's actually map out the ticking clock of this deadly journey. At 11:47 p.m., we have the verified pickup at the hospital. At 12:18 a.m., we have the supposed drop-off. But right smack in the middle, at exactly 12:03 a.m., is where this seemingly perfect digital story completely breaks down. That is exactly where those 12 minutes vanished and where a detour occurred. Detective Walker and his team took a super systematic approach to blow this wide open. First, notice the GPS gap. Second, pull all the municipal traffic cameras along the route. Frame by frame, they track this black SUV. Everything matches perfectly. Until step 3. At 12:03 a.m., those traffic cameras show the vehicle suddenly turning off the official route and onto this totally deserted industrial road. Even more disturbing, the footage proved the SUV just sat there parked for nearly 10 minutes.
All right, moving on to Section 4, the physical evidence.
Now, when they questioned Kevin about this deserted road, he got noticeably nervous. But the police still didn't have enough tangible evidence to actually arrest him. The case was practically going cold until weeks later when a homeless man came forward with this absolutely disturbing tip. He reported seeing a black SUV parked near an abandoned warehouse on that exact industrial road on the night in question. And worst of all, he remembered hearing a woman screaming. At first, people were skeptical, but Detective Walker was desperate for a lead, so he decided they needed to search that dark, abandoned warehouse anyway.
And this perfectly illustrates the cascade of physical evidence that unraveled all of Kevin's lies. Inside that warehouse, they discovered Sarah's hospital ID badge. Boom, definitive proof she was there. Forensic teams check outside, and hidden right beneath layers of dust, they find tire tracks perfectly matching Kevin's SUV. This physical evidence was enough to finally secure a search warrant for the vehicle itself, where experts found tiny but undeniable traces of Sarah's DNA in the cargo area.
Faced with all this overwhelming physical evidence, Kevin Ross was arrested on the spot, and he finally confessed. The details are just horrifying. He admitted he had actually driven Sarah several times before and developed a total obsession with her. On that Friday night, he deliberately altered the route, took her to that abandoned warehouse, and committed murder. And honestly, the scariest part? Because he manipulated the GPS app data, he genuinely believed he had committed the perfect crime, and that nobody would ever find out.
Which brings us to our final piece of the puzzle, Section 5, the silent witness.
See, Kevin thought he had covered his tracks. He manipulated the app, he chose a dark area, but he made one tiny, invisible digital mistake, the ultimate aha moment that proved his guilt for sure. To understand this, you have to understand an automated Wi-Fi connection. It's basically a digital handshake, where your smartphone automatically seeks out and links to a nearby network, even just for a few seconds. When Kevin parked outside that abandoned warehouse, his phone, completely on its own, automatically connected to a nearby active Wi-Fi network. That split-second handshake left a permanent, unalterable location record, placing him exactly at the crime scene.
That physical evidence, paired with that irrefutable digital fingerprint, completely sealed his fate. Months later, Kevin Ross was convicted of kidnapping and murder, getting life in prison without the possibility of parole. The true crime mystery was completely resolved, all because of a single, forgotten Wi-Fi connection operating silently in the background.
I really want to leave you with this powerful quote from Detective Walker from the final press conference for the case. He said, "Criminals can hide people, erase messages, and destroy evidence, but technology always remembers something." It is such a profound and chilling reminder. We all walk through life generating this invisible trail of data, a silent witness to absolutely everything we do. So I'll leave you with this question to ponder. In our hyper-connected modern world, is it ever truly possible to disappear without a trace? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.